Welcome back to the Make It Count podcast.
I'm Marcus Mire, founder of Mire Group CPAs and the Total Control Accounting System.
I'm Tyler Warner, small business owner with a lot of accounting questions.
All right, Tyler.
And my number one question right now is, what does an accounting expo look like?
All right, so I think what you're jumping ahead a little bit.
Yeah.
I gotta tell people where I was.
All right, so, well, you tell them.
Yeah. So I was in Vegas for AI CPA Engage, which, you're laughing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, so let's back up a little bit.
What's AI?
So AI CPA, listen, so this episode, I think we both know is going to be kind of like, we're going to get into some
future
fun,
of accounting.
Future of accounting, some fun stuff, some kind of anecdotes. So AI CPA, funny story, what used to be the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants, right? And it's as sexy as it sounds.
A wild group.
A motley crew, they might say. And but a couple years ago, kind of like in the shadows, changed their name to the Association of International. So what was the C for? Something public account. I don't even remember what the C's for.
Consortium? That sounds like kind of superhero-ish a little bit.
Let's see what it stands for. I don't even remember. See, look, you go on there, America. Oh, here it is. Okay, literally, this is interesting. I just Google searched it. Their Google listing, American Institute of Certified Public Accountants, smaller print, Association of International Certified Professional Accountants. So they put a little fast one on us.
Is it one of those things like we just invited Canada?
I think so.
Like,
and then changed. They had to figure out an acronym that still worked, so they didn't have to tell anybody.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's who's putting on the conference. It was in Vegas.
All right.
Basically, the gist was, like with any conference like this, a lot of breakout sessions. You can kind of pick your path, whether you're a tax person, an accounting or auditing person, or somebody in technology. They have soft skills stuff about leadership and coaching. And so that's what I did.
Gotcha. Yeah. So is it like, I've been to a few kind of these like industry conventions. I mean, is it like a big convention center, lots of booths and stuff?
Yeah. So was that
who shows up at like Gusto, I imagine?
Yeah. So there's a huge exhibitor hall, and it's every major player in the accounting space who wants to get in front of accountants. So yeah, obviously some of the ones we use, Xero, Gusto, Practice Ignition. There's all kind of tax software people. There's lenders, like people who do like creative financing. Let's see what else. All kinds of different practice management. Bill pay was a huge one, which is getting very interesting, by the way, about how you do. And we say bill pay. This is like businesses that, not just that process accounts payable, like somebody sends you an invoice and, you might pay it in 10, 20 days and, that kind of thing. So yeah, big exhibitor hall where you can go demo products, get more information, do that kind of stuff. And really, I will tell you, that's where, that is what kind of got me going a few years ago when I started using Xero. I went to XeroCon.
Nice, yeah.
Yeah, so XeroCon in Atlanta, maybe 2018, I think. But the exhibitor hall, man, I was exposed to all these different technologies, and that's what so it really does serve a purpose to get you just exposed, and then you can deep dive as you want.
Yeah. Right. So what classes did you
so
what breakout sessions did you go to?
I didn't do a ton of like traditional stuff, as you can imagine, but like I was telling you, and the thing that really I've heard this term before, but to see it in action caught my attention was what's called, the acronym is RPA, but it's for robotic process automation. And lots of accounting firms are using this. I would say lots. The very much innovators, I don't even think it's in the early majority yet, if you're kind of looking at that adoption curve. Maybe some early majority, but a lot of innovators. Basically, it's using software, which you and I talk about all the time, is getting easier and easier to use to build your own bot. And essentially what the bot does is, if you've ever gone to somebody's website and that thing pops up and it has canned responses to your questions and directs you, that's a bot, which has been pre-programmed based on, and you'll know more about this, I'm not a developer guy. But anyway, the way people are using this in the accounting world is to handle repetitive tasks quickly. So take the time on the front end to build a bot, and it was so impressive. The one example I used or I saw was, and this will resonate more with accountants, but I think people will get the point. Somebody with a lot of rental properties, and on a tax return, you have to report each rental property on a separate schedule. So if you're a big real estate investor and you have 100 properties, I mean, that takes a lot of time for somebody plugging that into your tax return, right? Well, the example the guy gave us was he got the data from the investor's property management company, and they sent it to him in Excel. And he did a little work to format the data in Excel, and then ran or created a bot to pull that data. So basically, to go on his computer or server or wherever the document is, open the document, pull the data out, and put it into the tax software. And he kind of walked through how to do that. And I was just like, my mind was blown.
Yeah.
Like, because there's a lot of repetitive tasks we have, and I mean, as you can imagine, automating and trying to do things, but like this was another level. This was, man, if you've got a big project and you know you're gonna have it year after year or month after month, like it was like, and it wasn't like these are developers.
Right.
Like I think you mentioned, what'd you say, no code development? Yeah.
Yeah, no code is just basically, I mean, it's like what it's advertised as.
Right.
It's just you can build these things that function as software
Right.
without any knowledge of a scripting language.
Right.
You know,
So a guy like me, yeah, it's
exactly.
perfect.
And a lot of these, like, just imagine if you've ever set up I'm thinking of Grasshopper right now because I'm helping a client.
The phone system?
Yeah.
Okay.
So like, if you've ever set anything up like that, where it's like, okay, if this person rings, dial to,
Right.
Department 1, if this ring, stuff like that. Just imagine a more complicated, sophisticated version of that.
Right.
Is kind of where you can get into these like programming a bot.
Yeah.
And, it's really fascinating.
Oh, it was like, and I love that stuff anyway. I mean, again, I don't, try to pawn myself off as a developer or anything, but like I love efficiency and automation. And so I'm watching this and I'm just thinking about all the use cases in our firm. And then what the guy presenting was mentioning was how you could then build these things and sell them.
Right.
And go to your clients and say, look, I know your business well enough to know this process right now you have is super manual. And maybe we've gotten it better with a cloud software or something like that. But there's still, even as a part of that is a data entry point or something like that. What if we built a bot to take this process and that takes us, I don't know, a day, and maybe it takes us now 30 minutes.
Right.
Like the one I gave you was he built the bot to take a rental property data from 100 properties. It put the data into the software. I think he said 42 seconds.
Sure.
He showed it and it was just like the screen was just flying. Like crazy.
Well, I remember my head exploded. So like I worked back in the day in Photoshop a lot, and they have like just like these batch. You can literally they're called actions.
Right.
And you could record. Okay, I want to add a vignette. And then I want to make
What's
it
a
black.
vignette?
It's just like kind of shadowy black around the edges of the photo. It's not really in style anymore.
Right.
But anyway, you could do that and then like add all these other effects to it. And then you could literally just run a whole batch it does that. It would load them on the screen.
Yeah.
And, it would take a whole task and automate it, and you could do a whole folder and then save it into another folder, and it was just mind blowing.
No, it was, for me, it was like, oh my God, the light bulb went off. And I've heard other people I know using this, but like just never took the time to watch it.
Well, what I'm thinking is like, we talk a lot about business and just kind of where the innovation that accounting is headed. And one of the things you've talked about is like niching down.
Right.
Imagine if like you niche in the real estate space. And then now, okay, well, I'm going to build a bot for my real estate clients that's that specific.
Absolutely.
And then you can, with that automation, if now a task that took 4 hours is taking 42 seconds, then you can either continue to charge that same premium and save labor costs, or cut your costs down and then expand.
Right.
Lower your price,
right,
and get more volume because it's taking you 42 seconds.
Right. No, it's crazy, and I think what you're kind of saying kind of leads into another class, and I think we'll talk about both of them, was pricing. So from accountants, traditionally, for I would imagine ever, have billed by the hour, which we don't do a ton of. In fact, it's really, for us, it's like the one-off clients or things where clients that don't already have a monthly subscription with us. We'll kind of bill by that, or I'd say bill by that. We use the hourly rate to value price things. But what this was talking about was this with Ron Baker. So Ron Baker in the accounting world, and really has a very successful podcast called The Soul of Enterprise. really big expert on pricing. And he was really the one in the accounting world pushing people to go to value pricing, which value pricing, for those that don't know, is simply assessing the needs of your potential customer and billing them accordingly. So you might value a piece of work more than another person. The best example is an expedited piece of work, right? You might, if you needed your car fixed today, you might pay more than if you needed it fixed in 2 weeks. Or if that project meant more to you in terms of the revenue it would derive. So like if I could help you get a loan that was going to save your business, that's worth more than your hourly rate, right? If I could get you $1 million loan, it keeps your business afloat, but it takes me an hour or two. Well, I shouldn't bill you $200 for that. That should bill you some form or fashion.
You should bill me a little bit less than $1 billion.
That's right. Just a little bit. Cost benefit, right? So anyway, so Ron Baker, very followed in the industry, is now talking about what he thinks is the next iteration of accounting pricing, and at least to like get people moving, which was the subscription model, which I was, I didn't go and research it even further, which what we're doing here to a certain extent, but I think what he would say we're doing is fixed fees. He was saying go the concierge route, basically kind of a 3-tier approach of services you'll render, but under the guise of pricing them behind what he called, like, what was he saying? I'm trying to remember the different methods. I think it was the peace of mind when he said, there's all kinds of different pricing strategies. One is peace of mind, like insurance. You buy it, you never use it, but it's there for the peace of mind. And he was saying kind of a mix between peace of mind and concierge, where we handle everything related to accounting for you, and you feel as though it's being taken care of and the health of your business is being watched. It just, again, peace of mind. And he gave the example of these primary care doctors who are moving away from fee for service and are moving more toward smaller client bases, higher fees. And the value proposition to the client is that we're deep diving, we being the patient, the doctor with the patient, we're doing a more deep dive into your health, wellness, being proactive, because we have less clients to serve and our end game is keeping you healthy. And so he gave that analogy to accounting. He said, obviously you're not practicing medicine, but you're doing the same thing, right? You are keeping your clients' businesses healthy, proactive, strategizing. And so moving toward that model, I thought that was, which is already something we've talked about here internally, but less clients, but deeper dive with them. It's really hard in the accounting world because you've got clients who help build your business, and and they may not be right for that model. And that's what it is. I mean, that's okay.
And concierge just sounds
expensive.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think and again, I think we have kind of a mix of that. We're trying to go toward that, but I do think the premise is there is that what he was saying, which is true.
Yeah.
Everything you're buying is on a subscription basis. Yeah. People are now coming to expect it. And for lots of reasons, whether it's to move to the front of the line, kind of you'll like he gave the example of all the different pricing methods, front of the line being TSA pre-check, or exclusiveness, a country club, or this peace of mind concept, insurance, or the concierge part, which was all my needs are taken care of, and all under the guise of frictionless service. Right. So easy way to pay, which in our world means we're just going to drop the money from you, which we already do. But also just rendering services. And you're not, and he said, I think it was interesting, he says, you're not pricing the services, you're pricing the relationship. And he was trying to get people's minds to shift to the point of saying the client is paying the concierge for the relationship with the firm. The firm is meeting my needs and taking things off my plate and handling things, giving me peace of mind and assuring me of things rather than doing tax returns, payroll, accounting, so forth. So I was really intrigued by that.
Yeah, and it's funny how different those two things seem on the surface. One where you've got robots, right, who are virtually free to a degree. You know what I mean?
Right.
Eventually they become free.
Correct.
Like
I get you.
Maybe I shouldn't have said it.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Eventually
like,
they lower
you leverage the time spent creating them in perpetuity to a certain extent.
Right. So compared to a relationship, which is always going to be, there is no surplus.
Right.
Everybody's got the same 24 hours. So when you start having to value a relationship and put a price on that, it does get it's a different animal,
Yeah.
you know?
Right.
And I think that's what business is, I guess, is just kind of figuring out which one you're going to choose and when
Yeah.
and how. And,
Well, I think
you
I
know,
think the RPA and this concierge model go hand in hand. So kind of to kind of push back a little bit, because you're trying to create excess capacity. Because if you go a concierge model of people paying you a premium fee and delivering a high quality service, you don't know when the needs spike. Like, so if you've said our top tier is, let's just throw a number, 10 grand. Call us with any project, we'll handle it, 3-day turnaround. What does that look like to your team? That means you've got to have excess capacity. Well, if you've got excess capacity, it means you better, or to have excess capacity, you better be efficient. And so what I think all these pricing models, at least the ones that more innovative accountants are pursuing, they all are backed by efficiency, because you're willing to fix. You're trying to fix the fee, which means you're controlling the input costs. So you're always looking to do things faster, more efficient, to meet the needs and keep capacity for new product. So if a client goes in your concierge model, but they pick the middle tier, whatever that is, instead of 10,000, it's 4,000, and then they say, but you know what? For these next 3 months, we got some projects we want to ramp up. Well, you've got to be really efficient and have the capacity to do that. And so I think that's where RPA comes in, is that you are constantly minimizing the time it takes to do redundant, repetitive tasks, so that you can have the financial health taken care of to strategize for your clients, to take on new projects and so forth.
Yeah. I'm curious how this sits with you. Like, I kind of, and I think you have too, to a certain degree, camped the accounting, this umbrella, into there's like compliance, and then there's advisory. And like compliance is the things that you can know, right? And give or take, there's a rule book, meaning the tax code, that's black and white for the most part. And then there's data, which is also, black and white. And what I'm ultimately getting at is, like, I think the day is coming, if not already here in most cases, where that's the world of a bot. Like, a bot could eventually, with AI and everything, could understand the tax code, recall it instantly, obviously, and then take that data and then make it compliant.
Right.
But the advisory piece takes the human, the concierge, right, where they can see what the bot does. The bot's just, doing the mundane tasks, right?
Of course.
And so then the advisor can take that information and say, okay, that's based on like business experience. That's based on,
intuition.
Like you mentioned, the same doctor analogy, seeing other clients and their health and how it went down.
Absolutely.
And so both could get better in the future, I think. If right now it seems like the industry is slow at both in some cases, because they're in the traditional sense, they're either just knee deep in the paperwork, it seems like, and they barely have time for the advising if their clients, and to your point in other podcasts, clients may not even realize that that's something they would do.
Yeah, I think there's this growing divide between kind of what you would call traditional accountants and more of the innovative ones, in the sense that, and again, I'm trying to say this, I don't want to point fingers at anybody, but I think what you're pointing out is, in our business, and I think this resonates with any business where you're rendering professional services, you've got to get to the point where you are being efficient so that you can give people advice. People don't want to pay for the tasks that set the stage for you to do your expertise work. What you're talking about is advisory. So people have commoditized, and to an extent rightfully so, compliance, bookkeeping, all these different things, because they see all these other online services doing them. The reason for that is that because you should use technology, you should use bots, you should use any method necessary to reduce or eliminate paper pushing, manual repetitive tasks, and tasks that don't move the needle. What clients are willing to pay for, again, to your point, is give me some experience, some intuition, give me some advice, help me make my next move. That's advisory. Or give you example. We notice you're paying 4% in credit card fees. It should be 2.5. Like, let's shop that. We notice you have workflow issues because let's do a flow chart and process. And that's what we're kind of moving to. It doesn't minimize the necessity or the significance of compliance. Like your tax return should be accurate and professional, and you should plan for it, and you should use the tax code to all of your advantages. But to the extent things can be automated and done with efficiency, you need to take advantage of that. And clients are going to, if they're exceedingly going to expect that you're not charging them a lot for those services because they see online services doing them for much cheaper. So my point in all that is you're trying to get to the point where you can bring the mundane work down such that you can build it in a model that makes sense for everybody, where the client feels like they win and you feel like you win as the service provider.
Yeah.
What does that all mean anyway?
Yeah, no, I mean,
because I think that's what people pay for. Like you were saying, like some people don't even realize their CPA does anything other than taxes because they've never told them. Mm-hmm. There's and I think you and I, we probably struggle with this, but this is a good thing. Like in a professional service business, if you're not taking a step back every once in a while and going, okay, I know we have lots of work to do, but if we don't get better at this, and this, which means we got to step back from the work a little bit, no innovation happens. And so the reason, my point in saying all this is, like, lots of people with their accountant, they're just doing the work because they're so busy. They never step back and say, I know we have to kind of call a timeout here and put work aside, but if we do this process and build this bot, it'll save us time out in the future in perpetuity. But you have to have that foresight to step back and take some ownership, work on your business, not in it. Yeah. Talk about that a lot. To then reap the results of building a bot or efficiency, whatever other efficiency you want to put in.
Sure. That's a good place to end it. If you're looking for a bot for your business.
We haven't figured that out yet. We're working on it.
Yeah, don't sell yourself short. I think some of the things I've walked in here and seen you guys working on. I mean, it's, maybe you wouldn't call it a bot if you were a software developer, but I mean, it's close to it.
I would say, like John, I'm looking in his office as though everybody can see me looking at John. John is like, he's perfect for this. Like he's got a data mind. He's very logical. And can I bring up a real quick example?
Sure. Okay. I just closed the podcast, but we'll reopen it up.
Can we open it? Yeah. One thing about the bots I thought was very interesting was the guy giving the presentation. I'll try to keep this short. He had
all the time in the world.
Okay. He said, we're going to make a sandwich. And he had on the table bread, peanut butter, jelly, and a knife. And he said, okay, how do you make a sandwich? And the guy was like, okay.
Cut the crust.
You pull the bread out. Yeah. Okay, so he pulls the bread out. She goes, then you put the peanut butter on the bread. Well, he literally takes the jar of peanut butter, puts it on top of the bread. She's like, no, that's not what I meant. He's like, oh, okay. He was like, you open the peanut butter. You open the peanut butter. Then she said, you put some peanut butter on the knife. Well, he puts the knife in, but it's the wrong end. It's the butt end. And his point was, when you're building a bot, or like any of this stuff, it makes sense. The computer's going to do exactly what you tell it to do. Right. If you say put peanut butter on the bread, it will put the peanut butter, the jar, on the bread.
Right.
And so my point is, like somebody like John or lots of people coming up with a data mind, that makes a lot of sense because you're used to what you would call logic. Yeah. If this, then that. Like Zapier, all these triggers are generally if this, then that.
Yeah.
And that's what I could tell in the accounting world and finance building bots looks like.
Yeah. Until you introduce natural language processing and then like AI. And,
oh, God.
I mean, that stuff's fascinating. If you've seen, it basically teaches the computer to know when you say make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And not
to interpret.
Like, oh, I didn't know. Like if you haven't, Google or go on YouTube and watch like Google's answering service or something. I forget what it is, but basically like somebody schedules a hair appointment.
Yeah, I've seen that before. And it's a bot on the phone.
Yeah, and they like even program like the human just like let me see, like which a robot doesn't never need to say like it's thinking,
which is kind of scary.
Sure, they did it for like the extra spooky effect. I just was like, oh my gosh, the world's over. But
and you start thinking about the Jetsons and their like robot made.
Yeah, I always think about it too. Everybody worries about AI. Like it's fun to like. It's not fun, but people, Hollywood appreciates like the apocalyptic nature of AI. But we're not going to give them arms. And You know what I mean? Like, why would we do that? It doesn't make any sense.
But will we
know,
teach them? Will we teach them how to build their own? Right?
Yeah, but like the self-driving
Yeah.
cars, for example. I
Right.
mean, there's not. We didn't build a robot that sits in a seat
Yeah.
like a human that can look and steer.
Right.
It has sensors all over the car.
Right.
Is my point.
Yeah.
You know, like so AI.
The humans, the human element is going to be there. I think in the accounting world, people worry about that. I was like, hold on a second. Like you mentioned, you made the point before I did. The advisory, the redundancy work. Yes, if you're in that business, you are going to be threatened. But if you're not in redundancy, repetitive, and you've already figured out how to automate that, then people are paying for the service that people are still gonna keep rendering. It's gonna be a human rendering those advisory services.
Yeah.
So anyway, let's close. I know we're going long here.
No, it's fine. All right. So again, if you need a bot or a
RPA.
self-driving car, whatever, any
Yeah.
innovation in your business, definitely go to Mire.group. Certainly thinking forward in the accounting space,
Right.
and holistically about business in that respect too. So definitely go to Mire.group. Connect with you can connect with Marcus directly there. Get on his calendar for free consultation, and be sure to check out the other podcasts.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.